And we are on with Joe from Winans. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thanks for hopping on. You are the president and CEO of Winans, right?
President, CEO, owner, janitor, delivery guy, you name it. I do it. So,
You wear different hats depending on the day.
yeah, especially now. But,
Yeah, especially now, exactly.
no,
Um, Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, Winans is actually a fifth generation business in confectionery and bakery. We're second generation chocolate. And so my wife and I bought it from her father 27 years ago. And it was just one small chocolate shop in Piqua. And we bought it with the thoughts that we would move it to Columbus because we lived there at that time. And long story, trying to make it shorter, but basically we discovered pretty quickly at that time, the chocolate company was 30 years old. We discovered you don't pick up a company and move it because it had some amazing employees and, some facilities. So we decided, obviously, just to start developing the business. We both worked outside the company. We both worked in Fortune 100 companies. And then I decided I was going to go in it on my own and see what I could do. And so when I did that, I took over. We were chocolate only. And one of the biggest problems I discovered right off the bat was there was no coffee. And I had a 3 to 4 double cappuccino a day habit. And the closest was the 30-mile one way, so 60-mile round trip. And so I discovered that wasn't going to work. So we put in a small espresso machine in 1994 in Piqua, where people hadn't heard of espresso. And we basically put it in for me, but we served it to the customers. And now fast forward 27 years later, we have 20 locations. They're all chocolate and coffee combo cafes. We originally sourced roasted coffee from a roaster in Columbus, and 14 years ago we started roasting. So now we're a full-fledged roaster. We source coffee from all over the world. I spend a lot of time in Central and South America buying coffee. So it was kind of a self-educated beginning on both chocolate and coffee. And then recently, we've added wine in a few select locations. Another one of my weaknesses beyond chocolate and coffee is wine. But there's also quite a relationship between the three, not only in how the ingredients are grown, but how they are cultured into products and those different kinds of things. And so that's been kind of a really fun adventure for the past 5 years. On top of the chocolate and coffee is the wine. We don't make wine, we only source wine. And we source wine only from France, Italy, some from Spain, and select ones from Northern California.
Nice.
But
So the coffee right now, obviously it's packaged as Winans coffee. You basically go to these countries in Central America, and you pick what you like, you bring it in, and then it's packaged as Winans, right?
Right. So basically, we buy Arabican coffee, which is the coffee that we sell, grows around the equator. So we sell coffee from about 30 different countries. I'm not able to go to all 30 countries and source coffee because specifically most coffee growing companies are pretty remote, and it's not always easy getting to these farmers. But we buy from Africa, Indonesia, India. We buy from Central and South America, but most of our direct relationships are with Central and South American farms because I've formed those relationships, and I do visit with them and go down, and we actually cup coffee there, make selections, bring the coffee back to the U.S. Green, and then roast it in Piqua, and distribute it in bulk to our 20 locations that all have full espresso bars. So they're serving coffee beverages as well as selling coffee beans, roasted coffee beans. And that's become a big part of our product line as the whole roasted coffees as well.
Nice. And how is that different from wine? Is wine the same process?
No, it's very different. So wine and coffee are somewhat farmed initially the same way, grapes and coffee, somewhat. Altitude, terroir, soil, all those things are very important in the development of the flavor of the coffee bean, as well as they are the grape that makes the wine. The difference in coffee and wine is coffee, we buy the actual bean and we create the beverage here. Wine, we buy the beverage completely crafted by the winemaker from the origin, and we sell the liquid beverage, obviously. So we do not make it. I'm not a proponent of trying to emulate centuries and centuries and centuries of techniques of winemaking. But for coffee, the coffee growers have become more and more sophisticated over the years using similar techniques of grape growers. And then we buy coffee, sampling it in the same way you would sample wines. It's kind of hard to explain, but so it's a cupping process, we call it, and where we're cupping for acidity and body and base and different flavor profiles. And when we cup this coffee, it's at origin typically, or samples will be sent to us. And we cup it for what we can then do with it in the roast process. So when we're cupping it and describing it, you would taste it, you'd be like, I don't taste any of that, or I don't understand what you're talking about. But we're talking about components that we taste in that cupping sample that we know then we can take to our roaster, and based on a different style of profile with heat and air and all the different things we use in roasting coffee, can develop certain things that our customers like.
Nice.
So the difference is the artwork of the coffee is done by us. The artwork of the wine is done by the winemaker.
Gotcha.
And as I tell our baristas, they're the last touch on coffee, and the pressure is all on them, because people have spent, hundreds of hours planting and growing and picking these coffee beans, processing them by hand. All this specialty coffee is done by hand. There's no machinery anywhere. They can't. It's on the side of a mountain. And it's hand picked, hand dried, hand selected. When we get it, we put it through a roasting process that's very technical and to the detail, but you can mess it up at the bar by just serving it inappropriately, wrong temperature of water, too long of a hold time, wrong grind, all kinds of things. And so I tell them that, they hold in their hands the lifetime work of sometimes up to 100 people. And so they have to be artists as well.
Yeah. Do you come from an engineering background?
No, I come from a political science background. So.
Wow, because you like processes, and you're very systematic.
Well, in flavor development, yes, I do. And flavor development in coffee, and flavor development in chocolate, and then flavor development in wine. And so yeah, that might be, but no, I can't do math, so I can't do engineering. So.
But your industry is very heavy on the process. You can't miss, all the links in the chain have to be
correct,
immaculate. And you were talking about the end product. If you've got all these steps to make coffee or chocolate or wine, but the last step has to be as important as the first step.
Absolutely. I mean, if you walk into our wine bar and you select a $50 bottle of wine that you're going to share with someone very special, and we serve it to you in a wine glass that smells like soap, that's what you're going to smell. Not the hundreds of years of experience of this winemaker and this amazing drink that has. I mean, drinking wine is not about, and that's the difference in our wine bars. We're not open late. We're open till 10. Because we don't serve the kind of wine that you drink to get drunk. We serve the kind of wine that you drink for an experience, and you can experience the culture, you can experience the beliefs of the winemaker, you can experience the place you are at that time, those kinds of things. And of course, there's alcohol in it, but it's not the kind of wine that you're just throwing back like in college just to
Yeah. You're going after the experience, after all. That's why you're going all the way to Europe to get these,
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what our whole store is. And that's what's been challenging the past 2 months, because our experience side of our business was shut down. And so we had to find ways to get the product to our customers so that they could create the experience for themselves at home. And we've done it. It's not our ideal way of doing business. We like we are a bricks and mortar company. We like the interaction with the customer. We like the feedback from the customer. We like the feel that they get from what we create, not only from our chocolates, because we do the exact same thing in chocolate we do in coffee or wine, but also in how we design our stores and train our staff. So going online, we're able to get the product to people, but it's communicating that experience. But what we found is the coffee does that because it's done right and it's roasted properly, and we give them instructions on how to best brew it, and so it's gone pretty well.
Good. So you guys, while we're talking about like what's going on right now with the current events, how did the operation at Winans change to accommodate whatever's going on right now?
Let me plug in my battery while we talk. It was so basically. Hold on, I'm going to step away. Just plug this.
Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
Did I lose you?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. So basically, we, under the orders of the governor, closed our chocolate production down on March 17th, which was basically 3.5 weeks before Easter. Easter is our single largest holiday season of the year, where we have the highest retail foot traffic. People buying chocolate bunnies and all the different things for their Easter baskets, and grandmas send them all over the country and blah, blah, blah. The fact that we have 20 stores, we just had 2 additional stores open in the past 6 months before all this happened. So we were producing for 20 stores. And so on March 17th, we were about 85% completed with our production for the season, all sitting in our warehouse. And so when I walked in there with the factory closed down, the stores closed the next week, I was a little freaked out. It's like, how are we going to move these thousands of bunnies and all these things? And so we laid off 102 people and kept 3. And so the 4 of us basically pivoted online. And we have an online presence. We have obviously a website. We have e-commerce. We have all those things, but it's never been developed as an actual store. It's just more of an order point for our existing retail customers. If they decided they wanted to order our stuff at 2 a.m. rather than come in the store the next day and pick it up, they could do it. But it was never really a marketed website per se, or web store. But we had to create it. And so we basically very physically set up a curbside pickup as well as shipping. We always shipped, but it was like, 5 or 6 packages a day. And we pretty much, and then we hit hard with our current email databases and social media outlets, and our it's called App Card, which is our loyalty program with our POS. We just started hitting it really hard, and we were able to sell we were about 85% of production was completed, and we sold probably about 75% of that before Easter. So we were very happy with that. Now, our sales were still dramatically down because we didn't get all the additional add-on sales of people being physically in the store, people buying coffee as well. But at the same time, we ran some coffee specials, and so we've continued to do that. We're still doing it, and our shipping is dramatically higher than it was ever. We've learned that people like you have been trying to tell us for years that, this is a way of doing business digitally and blah, blah, blah. But for a true brick and mortar, 100-year-old company, you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. I know how to do this when I unlock the door and I let them in. So we learned, and we also have learned that there's a lot more work we need to do to make it more efficient. But I don't know why my screen's, is it jumping all over for you? Is it just?
Yeah, I'm actually sharing.
Okay, good.
Sharing, make sure to see where you guys at.
Yep, there we are. So yeah, it's been an eye opener in a lot of ways, and we've realized that our business model, we feel will be back, because we're confident that we're going to get back to some level of normalcy at some point. But we've also learned that we have a whole new market of potential customers that we're selling to, as you and I sit here and speak, we're running a free shipping on coffee. And if you give your dog's name, you get a free dog treat as well. And it's been going really big. And we're doing a graduation thing. We're doing, normal things that online people have been doing for quite a long time.
Nice.
We're doing. And so we pivoted overnight, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it looks like. I see that. Do you guys offer wine in all of the locations or just select ones?
No, just, so of the 20, we have wine in 6 wine bars in 6 locations.
Okay.
And so there's
6 out of 20.
Yeah, there's 2 wine bars in Columbus. There's 4 wine bars in Dayton.
Okay. Yep. And all the ones that say plus wine.
They should, yeah. Sometimes it may not be.
Yep.
As,
Plus coffee and wine.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, you guys are pretty good on updating all your stuff online, and also you guys are pretty good on reviews. The reviews are pretty spectacular. I've ran through all of them here, and every location is pretty consistent when it comes to reviews.
Good. Yeah, and that's hard because
it is
working with and dealing with frontline employees and trying to get them to do what you needed them to do. But we have a product mix that people like to work within and that people like to buy. It's not like they have to come to buy medicine because they're sick. So.
I think to get that kind of consistent reputation online, it's one thing to have the mission and vision and like in your brain as the person who runs the business, but it's one thing to transfer that mission and vision onto the frontline employees and make them basically evangelists for the brand. And I think you guys did a really good job at that. Is it training? Are you guys heavy on training or?
Well, I mean, we always feel like we're not heavy enough because obviously, our business kind of goes through cycles and this change that we're going through right now there's some pros for us because it's, slowing down the labor market's never a bad thing for us because it helps us get higher quality employees. Before we were scrambling just to even get enough employees to keep the doors open. But we've never been to the situation of other places where we could not get employees because I think people want to be here because you don't go home smelling like garlic at night. You don't go home smelling, whatever. You smell like chocolate or coffee. But the training part I think is a lot of it's the passion that comes from me. It comes from the family traditions that are entwined within the business. But we have some pretty long-term employees. My chief kind of director of operations I think she's 42 and she just celebrated 23 years with us. So you can do the math. She started at 18, maybe 17 as a high school kid, went away to college, worked weekends, came back, ended up marrying a local guy, continued to work for us, had kids. But she's amazing. She's never worked anywhere else, ever. And she runs the company. And then we just brought back a guy who also worked with her at the same time. And was in the first couple of years that I bought the business. And he left, went to Vegas, worked in hospitality a little bit, worked for Starbucks for about 10 or 15 years, worked for IKEA for 10 years. And we just hired him back last summer as kind of her co-manager. And he has that passion too, because he started when we were one store and he helped me open the second store. And so it was the two of them, me and one other employee that pivoted during this whole thing. And we laughed one night at midnight when we were still working. We're like, this is like old times when we had one store and when we would work 24 hours a day during holidays to get it done. And that's exactly what we're doing. So that kind of stuff, I think, permeates out through the employees. And we've had sometimes multi-generational. There have been times we've had 3 and 4 generations of people working for us at once. We had a great grandmother. Wow. Crazy. But so yeah, it's, I think that's part of it. I think part of my passion for coffee and wine and chocolate, draws other passionate people in. And and we just keep going. So.
Yeah. And I think you're very present in your businesses too. Like you're on the ground too. You're not just, sitting at the office, and that's kind of like contagious. Your passion is kind of contagious, and your employees can see how you're handling everything, and they kind of like copy, and you have veteran employees too. They've been what, 20, you said 20 years, 20 plus years?
Well, yeah, our one employee she retired a year and a half ago at 87. She came to work for my father-in-law when she was maybe 30 something. She worked for us for over 50 years, but when I bought the business from my father-in-law, he said to me, I'm going to help you for a few months, but I want to like you because you're my only son-in-law. And there was a lot of family history in the bakery side where they all ended up competing with each other and whatever. And,
yeah.
And he said, so I'll help you 6 months. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to ask Clara to stay. And so I asked Clara, who was his assistant, kind of whatever. And she said, I'll stay 2 years. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I just need you to help me do this because he's going to play golf in Florida. 24 years later, she retired. So she stayed 24 more years with us. And she had been with him for like 22 or something like that. So
crazy.
Yeah. And she was pretty, so that kind of stuff gets passed down as well. So we have very senior employees, not only senior in time, but senior in age. We have, 16-year-olds. And so they all find ways to work together. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Solid brand for sure. You said you mentioned free shipping. Is that what you guys are running right now?
Yeah. If you buy 2 bags of whole bean coffee or 2 bags of ground coffee, whatever, we're offering free shipping. So
nice.
Anywhere in the country. We think we're Amazon. So.
Hey,
we're probably losing money just like Amazon.
Absolutely. You should think it.
Right.
Thoughts become things. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I love it. I also love what you guys are doing on Facebook. The Facebook page is so buzzing with engagement. You guys have 24,000 followers plus. Do you have a hand in this? Are you who's in charge of this? Like what's the process when it comes to social media?
Well, it's been a struggle over the past several years because we're a small company that people kept wanting us to open stores, and then I'm like, I don't know how to open that many stores, and so we went to a franchising model 15 years ago. And during that, we've been growing and expanding and learning along the way of, how to work with franchisees, because basically these are entrepreneurial business owners that own our concept, but have to operate within our guidance, but we didn't always have guidance. And especially in social media, because this all evolved and happened during the same time that we were evolving and having as a franchise company. And so we didn't know what was gonna, you know what I mean? And so it got out of control where there were multiple social media based pages, Facebooks of all different shapes and sizes and looks. And so over the past 2 years, we've worked with an agency in Dayton that's helped us bring it into one. So what you're seeing is the one. Now each location has the ability to have a local page because we want that, obviously, so they can do the local things that are happening.
Right.
But we have the main page for, the basic and not basic, but the content of which they can take onto the local page as well. And they can also add on events and those kinds of things.
This is like the umbrella Facebook page.
Correct. And we suffered a little bit because Facebook continues to change
yes
their rules. And, some of our franchisees are like, we're not getting, the presence we used to get. And I'm like, well, neither are we. And it's Facebook, it's not us,
right.
They're trying, and, and so now we've learned in working with, buying ads and boosting and those kinds of things, which is what they want us to do. I mean, obviously they're making money as well.
Yes.
That it's working. And so probably the biggest push that we find in any of this online, specials that we offer, whatever, the most direct sales of it comes from most likely Facebook and those kinds of things. We're doing the basic emailing and those kinds of things, but I think it's the social media that really does drive it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree. Like when Facebook sees that you have all this following and all this engagement, it kind of like suppresses the page a little bit. So you're investing and you're spending money on ads and stuff. That's totally true. We've had it happen multiple times. But you guys are definitely having multi-channel marketing. You guys are doing, the Facebook, the different social media. Obviously you're advertising on your own, brick and mortars. Where else are you guys advertising right now?
We do not have a strong, quote unquote, old fashioned advertising plan anymore. I mean, we used to do the basics with, local print media and, radio and that kind of thing years ago. We've gone almost 100% away from that. We focus mostly on, digital, but we also focus mostly on a lot on physical community engagement, whether it's through, charities and those kinds of things. I mean, when you have a product like ours, pretty much my wife's full-time job is managing donation requests because they're incessant. And I mean, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying it can be an annoyance at times.
Wow.
When every person comes to the door, I'm your best customer. Can you donate to my kids? Da 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 da. We're like, well, you're not necessarily my best customer. I don't know what you look like, but anyway, I'm joking with that. I'm not knocking any customer in any way, but there's a lot of that. But that does also give us presence, and so during the this downturn, or whatever we're calling this today, the pandemic, the global health crisis. During this, we got the benefit of feeling some return on a lot of that charity work we've done, where people have come back and said, you supported us, we're supporting you, and we're going to push this out to our people, and we're going to do this. So that was heartwarming. And so that makes you say, oh, okay, all of those years of supporting those particular things, even though I knew they were worthwhile, they were also worthwhile from a business standpoint. But we go back and forth a lot on how and what we should be doing to keep not only current, but keeping current with what's current in advertising and promotion, and not wearing down. So right now, I think we're starting to a little bit wear down our current kind of digital base, because we're just banging on them every day saying, you got to save us, you got to save us, and they are. But we're also seeing, like, we've taken on, and I don't have any official analytics on this, but we've taken on a lot of brand new whole bean coffee customers over the past 6 weeks that are now repeat buyers, and they're buying every 2 weeks, and they're doing that because, one, it's because it's free shipping. What I have found is, as people your age and younger, if it says free shipping, they'll buy it. They don't give a shit what it costs. I can charge you $200 to bag of coffee, but it's free shipping, you'll buy it. But if it's, 50, so the thing about us, where we're old fashioned, we sell coffee in 16-ounce bags. That's a pound.
Yeah.
Majority of online and third wave coffee sell in 12-ounce bags, but they sell at the same price we sell it for a pound.
Right.
So we try to tell people, it's like, look, you can scoop enough beans out of this to get you through the week, not till Thursday at home. But we're also giving you free shipping. They're giving you 12 ounces of coffee and giving you free shipping because you're paying for the shipping of those other 4 ounces. So if we were smart, we would just take the 4 ounces out of the bag and do free shipping all the time. But I have gray hair, so
no, totally, I agree with you. I think Amazon spoiled us in that regard, where like Prime and free shipping is it's automatic. Like we see free shipping, we jump on it, and I think you guys really did a good job of leveraging that.
Right, but what we've done is basically just discounted the coffee because we're paying for the shipping. But we also learned, the UPS is who we've always used, and I love the company of UPS based on the service of their drivers. Their drivers are unbelievable, and how they so we always use UPS. During this pandemic, we start seeing we were getting feedback from customers like, look, it's $10 for this and $18 to ship it. I'm like, I know, but That's direct. That's no markup. That's not me charging for any shipping and handling. That's what UPS is charging me because we're not Amazon. And so we also then pivoted to USPS, to the post office, because they give you free bags and this and that, whatever. They're not necessarily as easily, they're easy to work with. I don't want to knock them at all because I want them to survive, but they're not as technically advanced as UPS when it comes to tracking and timely delivery, blah, blah. But our UPS driver flipped out. He's probably like this 25-year-old guy. He was heartbroken that we weren't using him. Heartbroken. He basically called in people from the offices in Cincinnati and said, you got to get up here. They quit shipping with us and they've just quadrupled their shipping. This is not good. And so he got the people to the table and we literally renegotiated. But basically what they told us is like, look, Amazon loses money every day and they're not going to continue this. Their free shipping is going to go away somehow. Whether or not they fool the millennials a different way, it's got to go away because you can't go forever. I mean, I can tell you as a small business, you can't go forever not making money. And you know this, you're a small business, but yeah. So anyway, but they did renegotiate our rates and got us into all kinds of new little things that we didn't know were there. And it's because they were getting the competition from the Postal Service. And even though they also work with the Postal Service, it's so confusing. But all in all, I mean, it was another one of those situations of an employee of a company who made the change. And that happens a lot with our employees. So
that's a great story. So he basically saw what was going on and just pulled his company over to take a look at the situation and pivot.
Yeah. And then he said, if you'll write a letter, I'll take it. So our office wrote a letter, he took it and he drove it to them. And this guy was, we felt bad every time it'd be time for him to come, we would hide because we didn't want to see his face when he saw nothing in his space. And then he saw the post office like stacked to the ceiling. It was just, but he flipped it back. So
wow.
It was
commitment. He was committed.
Yeah, exactly. No, I want to hire him.
Exactly. All these businesses are going through some strange times right now, crazy times. You guys have obviously gone through so much more. You've been in business for, decades, and you've gone through a few recessions for sure. What can you give in terms of advice to, businesses that just started, such as myself? Like, what can you give us any tips, any advice?
Well, I mean, obviously, this is the most unknown time. I mean, I've owned this business through 9/11, when the world stopped, but then it started again. I've owned the business through 2008. I've owned the business, so the one thing that I've learned this time is, we were talking about earlier that you were saying I'm a hands-on, but as we were growing and getting more, stores and bringing on all the headaches that come with a bigger company, I was finding myself sitting in my office all the time and becoming, what I thought was important, doing important work. And when this all happened, I was back at the shipping table. I was pulling orders. I was carving bunnies. I was packaging. And there's nothing more valuable than that happened to me. And the ways that, I was back where I belong. But then also it just helps make decisions so much better. And I just think that, and it's interesting because as I've watched, as owning, quote unquote coffee shops, and especially in urban cities like Columbus and, Dayton areas, and, I'm watching all these millennials sit around on their computers. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? How the hell can they be doing business? What's happening? But over the years I've learned, oh my God, they're amazing what they're doing. And they're very efficient and they can get it done in a different time warp than I'm used to, and blah, blah, blah. And I've seen that happen here, but I also think that it brought back the other side of it for like I don't know how old you are, but my kids are 26 and 28.
I'm 30.
Yeah. So they're very millennial. They've always worked electronic. My daughter's always worked from home. And so, but they've also then seen now the physical side of what has to be done. Not necessarily in their job, but just in keeping the world going, because they've had to pick up and do some of it. And so I don't know, my advice is always just like, the minute you think you're too important out there and do the work, you need to get out there and do the work, because one, that's the fun part, and two, it's the real part. So yeah, and otherwise, it's like I'm kind of blown away by kind of what I think is foresight with the whole PPP plan, the payroll protection. That came, so we were closed down. We were 4 of us working. So then the initial communication comes out, bring your people back. We got to get people off of unemployment. We'll cover the labor, bring them back full force. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, my people work front line, they're service oriented. If there's no customers, nothing. And the messaging we were getting, which necessarily wasn't correct, doesn't matter, pay them, just pay them. Because, but what happened was we did bring them back, but then we learned that the PPP doesn't start until you get the disbursement of money from the bank, which was 2.5 weeks into the time I brought a lot of people back, that we were paying them without a lot of revenue generation, whatever. But but because of the physical and hard work we were doing and selling this online and selling on the curbside, and we were doing car hop. We would go out, almost like fully, mask, gloves, scarfed, and take a bag to people and sit it down, and they would like take a rag. I mean, it was like what's happening here? But so we were able to generate revenue to cover that. But the PPP for us is now sitting here, and it will cover labor costs from here on out as we're opening back up. But our biggest struggle time is not right now. It's going to be in 2, 3, 6 months from now. We have a business that is dependent on festivals in the summer, farmers markets, all these things that happen around our store that drive traffic that aren't happening.
Right.
I mean, no fireworks in Columbus, no arts festival, no symphony concerts in the park right behind us, no Strawberry Festival in Troy, Ohio, all this stuff. And that's the stuff that we base our whole summer on. Right. And so if in 2 months or 3 months, we're still going at 50% of daily sales of where we are now, that's where the PPP money will help keep people employed, so that we can hopefully build back up to that 100%, and hopefully not have a second wave and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But also, the other thing that we've learned is there's always a way to pivot or reinvent yourself to fit the current need. I mean, we've done it over the years with changing trends, but we've learned how to set our stores up to stay open. We learned we created drive-throughs in stores where we had to control the parking lot. And we'll do it again. We will not close again. We will pivot and put up shields, whatever it takes, because we like to believe that coffee and chocolate and wine are essential products that people have to have to live. And we've sold more wine out of this store here in Columbus closed in the past 2 months than we typically did open, because people want alcohol.
And they'll find a way to get it.
Right. As long as you can get it to them, they'll pay you for it and they'll get it. So, we're selling flights of wine in plastic glasses for people to take home and drink.
Yeah, I love it. I think Winans is a great example of not sticking to whatever was done in the past. Like, there are a lot of businesses now that are stuck, like, oh, this is how we've been doing business for 40 years or 50, like, right. We're not going to change. Winans is completely different. Like, you guys see opportunity, you go after it. You need a drive-through, you go for it. You want to switch to online, you recreate the website and make it e-commerce. You guys are pretty not conservative about your processes. When you see opportunity, you follow opportunity. I like that.
Well, and the one thing that I will add to that is you're exactly right, because one, we have to, but two, where I see opportunity and I will change processes and those kinds of things, what we never have changed is the recipes of these chocolates that were created by my father-in-law, who was a 3rd-generation German-Dutch baker, who created these chocolate products because he didn't want to get up at 3 a.m. every morning to make breads and cookies, and he didn't want to throw away the leftovers at 3 p.m. So he started developing the family's century-old confection recipes. We still do them exactly how he created them, and we will always do that. We're just finding different ways to get them to people's houses or parties or work offices or wherever they want them. And then the coffee is the same way. I mean, there's a lot of change that happens in the coffee industry all the time. The third wavers who, pour overs, and which are all fantastic ways to drink coffee. But in reality, people drink coffee for a lot of different reasons, and we're going to provide them to them in all those different vehicles. So
I agree. So yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, the processes. Yeah, like you make sure you meet your customers halfway. You become more accessible to them. More, you get close to them, but your core product is the same. It stayed the same. The recipes are the same. People are tasting the same product as from 50 years ago. That's wonderful. One last question, Joe. How can people support the brand Winans? What do you want them to go to your Facebook page? How can we support you?
Just buy it.
Yeah.
No, it's I mean, obviously we're trying to make our products, and we were just talking about this, our products accessible to people how they want to access them. So we have customers who still want to come in the store. They glove up, mask up, whatever it is to make themselves feel comfortable. We require, distancing from our employees because we're keeping them safe. But if you want to come to the store, we're here to get it for you. If you want to order online, we're here to ship it to you. If you want to order online and pick it up and not get out of your car, we have a text up service. So it's more about, us figuring out how to help people get our products if they want them. And we feel like right now we've got just about every base covered outside of a drone, so that might be next.
Nice. I really like how many products you guys have. Like I didn't know you guys have nuts, for example. I've been to the stores multiple times, but I didn't know you guys had gourmet nuts. Yeah. I usually pick up coffee, chocolate, and that's about it.
The gourmet nuts that's basically an ingredient. We use that in the different chocolates, whatever. So then we just bag it up as well. But because people want them for different parties. Yeah, you should plan to come down, and obviously right now we're not doing tours, but I could do a one-on-one to kind of show you around on the back end side of what we do, because it's fascinating. But,
I'd love that. What is okay, I promise this is the last question. What are some of the products that people don't know that, like right now I'm just realizing that you guys sell nuts? What are some of the products where people go, oh, I didn't know you guys carried that. Did you have that before?
I mean, it's funny, we'll get that a lot. Sometimes even when we just move stuff around in the store, people are like, oh, so when did you start carrying that? I'm like, 52 years ago, but it was just over there and you never walked over there. So we brought it to you. I think more, sometimes people are more surprised on what, that we make those particular products, or that we roast those coffees, or that we, have these relationships with the winemakers, and they're, but like we do a lot of things. Like this last weekend was Mother's Day, and so we do a chocolate covered raspberry. We only do it one weekend a year, and it's that year because that product is so delicate. It's so good, but we can't ship it. We can't, and so it's prepay only. You have to order, you pay for it, then we make it. That's how delicate they are. But it's a huge success. We do the same thing with strawberries, a couple of weekends a year from local strawberries out of Troy, Ohio, because they're pretty famous. Mm-hmm. We do caramel apples only for 4 weeks in the fall, and we only use local apples with our caramel. So we have these kind of specialized things we do at just certain times of the year. But the full line of chocolates, I mean, we're continually doing exactly what Max created, but then we're also like cookie dough and those kinds of things. That's more of a popular flavor that, we've brought on board. We just created a Highlander Grog is a coffee, flavored coffee that's very, very, very popular with flavored coffee drinkers. We created a chocolate called Highlander Grog. People love it.
I'm a fan of Highlander Grog. I love Highlander Grog.
So next time you're in, buy the chocolate and see if you like that. So
I will. Good to know. Good to know. Cool. Well, Joe, I don't know if you want to add anything else, but thank you so much. This has been really, really enjoyable, especially talking about coffee and chocolate, two of my favorite things. I appreciate your time, and I will see you in the group when I post this. Thank you so much.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.